Welcome to the station wagon. I'm the older brother, Mark.
And I'm little sister Julie. This is the podcast where my brother and I give up something we take for granted and tell you how it goes.
Buckle up and enjoy the ride.
Hello, listeners.
Hello, listeners.
This is the Station Wagon podcast, where we give you a close look at the science and history of the little things you take for granted.
And then we tell you how it goes.
Before we tell you how it goes, we also give up those things for 2 weeks. And then tell you
Or longer. I'm actually thinking
yeah.
longer. Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. Okay,
Yeah.
well, so this time, what do we do, Mark?
Well, this time we're going to be giving up the things that some call filler words. Things like and like so. What are some other filler words?
You know.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
No. You know is one.
Oh, I see what you did there.
You're a dork.
Very
Anyway, filler words are important for both of us because although we are in our 40s, we are still speaking like children sometimes.
What do you... You're putting... That's really pejorative, saying that filler words are for children. Take that back.
Well, the research I reviewed and that I'll get into a bit says that some of them are more common in younger speakers.
Yeah, well, the research I reviewed doesn't say that.
On Wikipedia. Okay, well, anyway, the research he read this morning.
You know what? Wikipedia, we are looking for sponsors.
Actually, yeah.
So, yeah.
I kind of I look at Wikipedia all the time. Who am I kidding?
Sure.
Okay, anyway.
You go from porn to Wikipedia.
No comment. Family-friendly show.
Family-friendly show. Okay.
And no judgment. Anyway.
Julie.
Yes, that's
Your name is Julie. Would you like a quiz about filler words?
Yeah, give me
Is
one.
it totally clear what we're talking about, filler words?
I think so. Filler words are the words that litter our vocabulary that you would not necessarily need to speak.
You know, I choose to think about filler words as wildflowers that grow on the hill behind your house when you least expect them to show up.
Well, there are some good aspects of them, and I'll get into that in a bit, but give me the quiz already so I can get to the awesome science section.
Oh, geez. Okay, hold on a second. Did you like that? The flowers behind your house?
Yeah.
Okay. According to a May 2017 study analyzing...
You just need, affirmation.
Yeah. You're a Schechter. That's what it's all about.
I married up. Dude, you are doing a great job. You're great at podcasting. You teach us something every episode. You help us lead a more mindful life. Now, give me the quiz.
Here's the quiz. According to a May 2017 study analyzing 500,000 sales calls, see if you can give me 3 of the 16 most common filler words that they found.
Ooh, okay. So they analyzed calls.
Yeah, they analyzed calls using some kind of robot.
And I just imagined the maid from the Jetsons. I don't know why.
You know, that's probably what they did.
Probably. Okay, and 3
very
of
likely.
the 16?
Yeah, just, I want to make it easy on you. No, actually.
Oh, like?
Yes, that's one.
Is not one?
Correct.
Wow. Okay, I'll use some of yours. Just.
No.
Okay. You know.
Yes.
Okay, have one more I need to figure out.
Yep. No.
What were they all?
Here, I'll go through them really fast so as not to bore you. And this is from the most said to the least said. So,
okay.
Like, right, kind of, actually, I mean, sort of, basically, believe me, or something. Perfect. At the end of the day, as you can see, you know what I mean, and cool.
Wow, I forgot about so.
You forgot about it. I know, these things are really baked in, huh?
Yeah, they are. Because some of the, and obviously are not, sanctioned parts of our excellent vocabulary.
They're not words, right?
Well, I don't know. They probably
actually,
are
can you
phenomes or something.
What? The what?
I don't. Ask a linguist.
No. I'm asking you. What did you just call them?
Phenomes.
Oh, phenomes. Okay.
Oh,
that made total sense. I heard you say something different. I heard you say something like cenomes, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about?
Okay.
Weirdo.
Anyway, whereas
Freak.
so and like, Thank you. Those are all actual words. All right. Okay. So did I get that one right?
Yeah, you did. Well, actually, hold on. You got 2 out of 3 out of 16. So no, that was not very good.
Okay.
Number 2, who uses filler words more, men or women?
Women.
That's exactly right, Julie, by 5%, according to the same research.
I'll get into why in a bit.
Oh, fantastic. Did you just use your
Radio
NPR voice?
Yeah.
That was really good.
Practicing. That's me growling at you.
Is your tummy growling?
Yeah, I'm really hungry.
And then finally, the question is, do filler words have an impact on sales outcomes?
Oh.
Remember, this research was all about sales calls.
Right. I mean, I would guess, yes. I would guess filler words.
Based on your research,
them.
what do you think?
I think they would reduce sales because some of the research I saw, some of it said that people rate filler words as higher deception.
Oh, interesting. That's very interesting.
So they don't trust people who speak with a lot of filler words, but a little bit of filler words makes it sound natural and trustworthy. So there's a fine line there.
Okay, very good. No, the answer is no, at least according to this research, Julie. And they did have that robot from the Jetsons doing it. Mm-hmm. So what they actually found was they sliced up their data based on the experience level of the salespeople. Mm-hmm. They found that new salespeople and very experienced, very talented, high volume salespeople or highly winning salespeople all used filler words, and there was no negative impact.
That's fascinating. Did they use them at the same rate?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Very interesting, right? And they didn't use any more better filler words if they were more experienced, or more youthful filler words if they were more inexperienced or whatever.
Right.
So there was no difference like that. So it was very interesting to see that kind of research.
Yeah, so I mean, how much of us thinking filler words is bad is just an old-fashioned way of thinking?
After I got done reading that article and a few of the other things that I read, I started thinking that it's as old-fashioned as trying to convert people from left-handed to right-handed.
Wow, interesting.
That's just my opinion, people. Yeah. I'm left-handed. Just so
I
you know.
want us to do an episode about that, by the way.
Giving up. Oh, I would love that. That'd be really cool.
Let's do that next.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, no, we're not doing that next.
Oh.
We'll get into what we're doing next later.
Oh, right. First, we have to give up filler words. I forgot. Okay.
All right. So, Julie, are you ready for the history section?
Please give me the history.
Now, in this history section, I did something a little bit differently because, first of all, I think it would have been really boring just for my own boredom level, to try to research filler words.
For the history of how many times people have said
Yeah, I really just couldn't wrap my mind around that. And as you know from our previous episode on how I do my research, it's really got to speak to me.
Right.
So what I did is I looked into the brief history of public speaking.
Oh, cool.
And I'm going to present this once again, and cue theme music right here. Mm-hmm. Maybe you could... You
got it. Oh, yeah, okay. I'm putting it in post.
Putting it in post, good.
It's really majestic.
Oh, good.
And swelling.
Princess Putrescence is back with her time machine, Julie.
Awesome.
And...
Oh, wait. Hold on while I slow down the music. Okay, great. Fade out. All right, continue.
Wait, you didn't really do anything.
It's all going to be in post. It's going to be great. Keep going. No, you're great. You're golden.
Before I get started about this, maybe our listeners would like to know why is Putrescence a princess?
Okay.
Because we are following a time traveler, and of course, only princesses have the sagacity and scientific intelligence to invent a time machine.
Okay, fair enough.
Fair enough, right? Now we know. So once more into the breach, our dauntless hero, Princess Putrescence, boards her time machine, Julie. This time she's in search of information and experiences that she thinks will make her a better public speaker. And there's a lot of that sort of thing in a princess's life, as you know.
Yes.
Since you were raised a princess as well. And she'd really like to give you up her enormous...
Why is that so hilarious to you?
Because...
Just because I'm the youngest and the only girl in our family, and my parents loved me the best, doesn't mean I was just like a princess.
Well, okay, I won't spell it out because it's rude, but you were also raised an American.
Okay, just stop right there. Don't even continue.
Okay. Did I hit a chord? I'm so sorry.
No, you didn't. Go on.
Oh, God. There's a lot of that sort of thing in a princess's life, and she'd really like to give up her annoying trait of using filler words and become more persuasive, Julie. We can all appreciate that, I think, especially as a princess. So close your eyes, Julie. You got them closed?
Yep.
Imagine Putrescence, Princess Putrescence, resplendent in her toga as she steps out 2,500 years ago in Athens, Greece, to attend a rhetoric class with Aspasia. Do you know who Aspasia is?
The famous
yes, keep going. Keep going.
Greece who developed or who posited that there's the 3 different kinds of speech: pathos, ethos.
Okay, shut up. You're stealing my thunder.
Oh, did I get it right?
No, you didn't get it right. No, she is the mother of rhetoric, and it's thought that she actually taught Socrates the skills.
Oh.
Right. So she not only learned rhetoric and public speaking from Aspasia, but how to be successful in speaking on equal terms with all of the male leadership in the community. So it was really super important lesson for Princess Putrescence in her work, and one of the first times on record of such a highly influential person being a woman and being given that kind of equal responsibility. So super cool. Putrescence, now driven by her goal of becoming a better public speaker, wants some of that skill that Aristotle talks about in terms of rhetoric as the faculty of discovering the possible means of persuasion in reference to any subject whatsoever. So that's super interesting to Putrescence, because she knows as a princess, she's going to have to be persuasive about everything from, oh boy, what do princesses think about, Julie? Maybe you could tell us.
How to feed her people during a drought.
Cake. Thank you. So here she learns that Aristotle divides the means of persuasion into logical reason, human character, and emotional appeal. Her brain's humming and skipping the way brains are known to do, of course, Julie, as she takes all this in and practices it.
Logos, pathos, and ethos.
Very good. And practices it with her time machine's AI. She has 3 more destinations in mind, actually 2 more destinations in mind that are going to help her out. First, she visits Cicero a few hundred years in the future and learns the 5 canons of rhetoric. Do you know what those are, Julie?
Nope.
Inventio. Shut up. It's real. It's Latin, so maybe I'm pronouncing it wrong. Inventio or invention. Dispositio, arrangement. Elocutio, style. Memoria, memory, and actio, delivery. I know, it's super interesting, but those are the steps. First, you process. It's the process of developing and refining your arguments. Yeah. Then you have the process of arranging and organizing your arguments. Then you determine how to present. And then you learn and memorize your speech so you can deliver it without the use of any notes. Super important. And the process for practicing how you deliver your speech after you memorize it. So, I mean, it's really basic, but what's super cool about that is thousands of years ago, that process was developed, and it's still the process that gets taught at universities and in schools all over the place.
Yeah, and it's still something people stink at.
Okay, back to me now.
All right.
Okay, so now I want to give a tight wrapper on Putrescence here, Julie. Okay, very good. So now she wants to get some modern refinement to her speaking skills. So she skips her time machine ahead almost 2,000 years to 1973 and shows up at the offices of Toastmaster International. Have you ever heard of that organization?
Yeah, it's where they make really good toast.
Oh, yeah, totally the best toast ever. And it's a really wonderful period for the organization, which is dedicated to empowering individuals to become more effective communicators and leaders. But 1973 was when women could officially join the organization.
Woo-hoo!
Right? So that's why she went there in 1973. And she wants to focus on her persuasion because she'd like to eventually, if the princess thing doesn't work out for her, she'd like to get into a career in outside sales for the cardboard box and blister pack industry.
Oh gosh. Because eventually she'd like to be a queen, not a princess, and then
that's exactly
be a queen's group.
She could be a queen's group. Thank you so much for wrapping that up. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
So
do we have to explain that very deep joke that is only an inside joke to 5 people listening?
I don't think so. I think you could Google it.
Okay, our dad worked at Queen's Group as a sales representative for blister packages and cardboard boxes, and that's why it's hilarious. Okay, continue.
That is why it's hilarious. So almost done here, Julie. So here she learns the inverted pyramid approach, which focuses up front on the most important information. She's all ready, she now thinks, to have at the modern world and get her royal subjects to do her bidding through persuasion rather than her usual methods of, duress, blackmail, and extortion. Sure. The last stop, this is the last stop in the history tour, is to May 2017 to the offices of Gong.io. And they are a sales communication analytics company. And she has learned from them and the research they did into 500,000 sales calls that we referenced earlier in the quiz, that it doesn't matter if you use filler words or not when you're trying to be persuasive and selling people things.
So she wasted some really valuable time.
She wasted some valuable time trying to get rid of filler words in her vocabulary, but she's now a much more persuasive speaker. So congratulations to Princess Putrescence. And that, Julie, my sister, is all you need to know about public speaking.
Fantastic.
It is. It truly is. She is a fantastic person and really represents us all and all of our struggles.
Absolutely. Okay. Can I get onto the scientific side of this?
Sure.
Okay. So
I would love that.
I'm so glad because here it comes. All right. I broke this into 2 parts. As I was doing the research, I found that originally we'd talked about filler words to be and like, but it turns out those are actually 2 different kinds of things as far as the academic literature is concerned. So first I'm going to start with filled pauses. That means and natural pauses in speaking that people fill with and then the latter thing are called sorry, hold on.
Is that a natural pause right there?
Yeah, exactly.
Very good.
And then the latter thing are called discourse markers. That's like, okay?
Wait, okay, now let me just make sure. So the first one was pregnant pauses? No.
Filled pauses.
Filled pauses. And the second thing was conversation markers?
Discourse markers. You don't need to remember.
Markers.
I'll get to it.
Okay.
It doesn't really matter.
Remember, teaching people, you should use repetition.
Tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them.
No, just repeat what you need to tell them over and over and over again until it just sinks in.
Okay, fair enough. Filled pauses. Let me start with why people use these. There are so many different
I like the way you bolded that. That was good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So one reason people use them is to gain the floor, right? Or to gain someone's attention.
Totally.
Yes.
Or to not give up the floor.
Exactly. Because if, let's just say, you live in one of our families and we like to talk and we all have lots of great opinions and we all want to share them.
Right.
But if we want to keep talking without someone else interrupting, sometimes you want to make sure they don't take your deep breath in as a way of jumping in. So, like that, I just indicated that I'm still speaking. Don't start yet.
Yeah, but that dumb sound you made on the end of your word, that's not what typically happens, is it?
No, I was just making a point.
Oh, got it. Good point.
Okay.
Really good point.
Thank
you. Yeah.
Excellent. And you interrupted me anyway, so it didn't even work.
Well.
The biggest reason is probably just planning and thinking. So that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
When we're okay. Anyway.
You're really doing well. No, you're doing super well showing how to use filler words.
Right. I'm the caterpillar who the frog asks, how do you keep all your legs straight? How do you not trip? And then the caterpillar can't walk anymore because he's thinking about it too much.
Right, exactly. Is that like the scorpion and the frog parable?
Oh, don't tell us that story again. I have to edit it out of the podcast every time we tell the story. This will be the 3rd time. It's all on the cutting room floor. Okay, so planning and thinking. When we don't know the word we want to use, we say or in the middle. 2, it's also a product of the speaker paying deliberate attention, like I was before when I was paying too much attention.
Yeah.
Then we get wrapped up in it and start using it even more. And this is something that happens to people who stutter as well. It's just thinking too much. Distraction.
Do you mean thinking too much causes them to stutter, or their stuttering causes them to think too much? What's the relationship there?
So yeah, the research that I read looks like sometimes when folks are trying to stop stuttering, they run into an issue where they're thinking about it too much and it makes it worse.
Okay.
So we also use filler words to think of synonyms. So there's this really cool study that shows or several studies that show professors in the humanities and like art classes tend to use way more filler words than in the natural sciences. And that's because
professors in humanities more so than sciences. Okay.
Right. And those the hypothesis was it's because they're choosing from among many different possible words to describe the concepts they're trying to get across. Whereas in the natural sciences, there's just one word usually for the concept, right? You're explaining a very specific thing rather than something that has a lot of synonyms. And I think you were the one who told me that Tom Robbins said there's no such thing as a synonym in the English language. We have such a complex.
That doesn't sound like something I would say.
That we have such a complex language, and every word has slight variations. You don't remember this conversation we had 25 years ago?
No,
after
I'm
I read
so sorry.
Jitterbug Perfume? Okay.
No, I do love that book, though.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, so someone did more
research. Did you know
research.
Rasputin ate beets? You could see it in his eyes.
It's a good book. Anyway, thank you for the first line there.
You're welcome.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Anyway, getting back to my important thing, as I'm thinking too much about the filler words I keep thinking about. So, this is hard. I'm the caterpillar again. Anyway, another filler word.
Maybe you're more like a banana slug. Be a banana slug, and then you won't have feet that can get you entangled.
Thanks, Marky.
You're welcome.
All right. In research and newspaper articles about the arts versus natural science, again, there's more synonyms. Even the newspaper articles and peer-reviewed academic papers use fewer synonyms in the natural science reports than in reports about humanities and the arts. And so that supports that hypothesis that when you're trying to find a word, you're naturally going to be using and a little bit more than if there's really only one word for photosynthesis. You know what it is that you want to say.
Unless you can't remember it.
Unless you can't remember it. Right. All right. Some of the reasons that filler words are not great. One, it makes us sound less confident and even potentially less truthful, like I was saying before.
Can you give me do you have any examples of that less truthful thing?
Yes. Psychopaths.
Oh, God. Wow. You just really went for it there, didn't you? There's no screwing around here. We're going right for psychopaths. Okay.
Look in the show notes, folks, for my peer-reviewed literature list. When they are asked to describe emotions of others, it's really hard for them because that's something they don't understand very well, and they use a lot of and us in that when they're describing that versus when they talk about other things. So it's possible
things that are core to being a psychopath versus us. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. Okay. So it's possible that I don't know, there's something going on that we just tend to see it as less truthful.
Okay.
And it's, aside from psychopaths describing people's emotions, I don't think that's true. I don't think there is a real link there. But maybe just the less confidence, and it appears like, they're making this up as they go along. They don't know what they're talking
the reason
about.
I was wanting to dive into that a little bit because I'm, you know me, Julia, I'm a student of body language. And so I want to know, like, is keeping track of people's filler words and if they're using filler words as predictive towards their truthfulness as, say, number of eye blinks while they're talking, because, that's been correlated too.
Right.
So is that a thing? Like, can we watch Donald Trump and go, in a typical 30-minute long speech, he uses 10,000 filler words?
You can't, but there is interesting research on the pauses that people take and how they breathe in their pauses and how often they pause.
Okay.
So, and there are linguists who will record different presidents speaking, and you could probably find these recordings out there. I don't know, NPR or something. I think I heard the report. And they take out all the words and you just hear the pauses, and it's really interesting. But I wouldn't judge anyone that you see on TV based on this because it's not extemporaneous. It is well rehearsed. No presidential candidate's allowed to get up to the stump and just start talking.
Right.
Just kidding. That totally happens. Anyway.
Yeah, right.
But here's the thing. So I've been thinking about filler words a lot since we started podcasting because I'm the one who edits our show. And of course, it takes a lot of extra time to take out all the ums and uhs. Not that we would ever do that.
Of course not. No.
The finished product, our listeners hear, is exactly how we sound.
That's
and
right.
we're really attractive, too, by the way.
Well, that's totally true. You know what,
am.
Julie, listeners, if you'd like to see a live show of us doing our recording live, let us know, because we think it's a terrible idea, but maybe there's actually some merit in there. Go ahead, Julie.
Great. That was a good call to action, Mark.
Thank you.
So I've been thinking a lot about this, and I follow a lot of podcasting boards and things, and I've been asking listeners and other podcasters about how much of the ums and uhs do they take out. And what I've heard is don't take them all out. That if you take them all out, it sounds a little weird because we're doing a comedy show about science and history. We're not NPR. Like, people expect us to have a little bit of this. It makes us sound more natural. Excuse me. Hold on just a second. Notice how I held my mouth away from the mic when I needed to burp?
That was interesting. Good call. Your burps are pretty gross.
So it turns out that advice makes a lot of sense given some of the research I found. I found that filled pauses can make the language easier to understand. So for some reason, when people are saying and versus nothing at all, or versus just completely fluent, well-practiced speech, the listeners understand it better. But it turns out it's not because of the filled pauses necessarily. It's because of the time between important words. It's because of just there being a pause. It doesn't matter whether it's filled or not. People understand speech better and take home the meaning and remember it better if there's pauses.
I love that. I love the way you said it. Yeah, that was
Thank
great.
you.
And isn't it just, gosh, did you do any looking into the relationship between oral speech and written speech? Because people...
No, I'm only talking about oral.
Because people also, when you write things for marketing purposes or for websites, whatever, less is more, and use that white space, which are basically like visual pauses.
Right. Well, yeah, I think that's very true. So it turns out our ums and uhs help highlight really important contextual clues. Yeah. So editors out there, podcast editors, when you're editing, don't just delete in Audacity the ums and uhs, replace it with silence or some blank space from a previous recording so it doesn't sound weird. But anyway, that silence is still important.
Could they use one of my burp sounds if they wrote in?
Please don't do that. Okay, so I did an experiment on you and also on our listener, Joe Booth.
Oh, good.
Joe has this great voice, so I'm so glad to use both of you guys in this way. So I asked both of you to record with me a little bit of speaking about something that you're an expert on and something that you're a novice on.
Right.
So for Joe, I asked her about her job, and let me just play her 2 recordings real quick for you guys.
Okay.
So that, I think in the States, you probably call it parent craft classes. So I teach women and their partners who are fairly late on in their pregnancy actually about labour and birth and parenting, and help them form a nice little social network.
Okay, so that was the first recording.
She does have a nice voice.
Doesn't she? That's where she's talking about something she's an expert on. And now here's her talking about something she's not an expert on. Can you tell me about the care and maintenance of hamsters?
I can have a go, but I don't know very well. Okay. The care and maintenance of hamsters.
By Joe Booth.
By Joe Booth, yeah. So you would have a cage and you probably keep them indoors. I think they're probably nocturnal. And I think you need toilet roll tubes in their cage and sawdust and bits of paper for them to chew on, and you feed them seeds or something.
Is it my imagination, Julie, or did she use and filler words more in the expert one?
Yeah, she did. So I was thinking that we would just speak more fluently about things that we know a lot about, because you could just give your elevator speech. Whereas if it's something you don't know a lot about, you would have to really search for words. And Mark, it was so for yours, do you remember which do you think you used more filler words on?
You know, I don't remember what I told you.
You told me about your foot pain for the thing you're an expert on.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what you were not an expert on because I haven't listened to that. But you had twice as many filler words when talking about your foot pain.
Really?
Both
Whoa,
of you.
Really?
Yeah, both of you used more filler words on the thing you're an expert on, which just shows my hypothesis based on this N of 2 was totally out the window. So it might support this other theory that there's a lot of synonyms for foot pain. I don't know. Whereas if it's something you don't know a lot about, maybe you're not trying to reach all the synonyms. You're just telling me the thing you don't know about. So anyway, my experiment. There you go. Thank you, Joe.
Yeah,
Appreciate
cool
it.
experiment, Julie. And what does that mean for us when we present? Because I know you have a big presentation coming up. Are you worried that you're going to use lots of filler words? I mean,
I do. I do presenting all the time, and this is something that's difficult for me. I get nervous, and as I get nervous, I definitely increase my filler words. Here's some methods that you can use to reduce them. The biggest one is recording yourself, and I do that all the time because I do a lot of podcasting now and for my job, and I'm listening to myself all the time. But I still use the filler words, maybe because I'm also editing some of it, and so I know I can take that out. Maybe I'm lazy. The best way, some veterans told me who'd gone through staff training that they had their superiors sitting in a room with them, raising their hands every time they used a filler word.
oh my God.
So that, and it helped. And they just caught every day, it gave a speech, and every day saw their commanding officer raise his hand when they were screwing up. So that would learn you quick, right? So I've been trying to get them to do that with me, but I haven't gotten them to schedule it yet. I don't know. Maybe they don't want it. Anyway, practicing your speech beforehand, of course, because then if you don't speak extemporaneously, you're not searching for that word. You already know what the word's going to be.
Yep.
And remembering that it's okay to have a little bit of filler words in there. It's still going to sound natural. It's okay. You can still be engaging with them. And if you think about it too much, if you're like, oh no, I said, it's all over, then you're going to be way too nervous and you're going to use them too much. Yeah. But for me, and is not my downfall. It's the word like. I use that too much, and I sound like a valley girl when I say it.
Okay.
And I've heard my daughter start saying it, and yes.
Do you use the whole intonation and everything?
I don't know. Maybe. I'd have to ask someone else. Okay. This is more, so these are the discourse markers. Like, they're more common in younger folks, more common in women, but they're also more common in conscientious people.
What does that mean? What's a conscientious person?
Someone who cares about others.
So not that psychopath.
Not psychopaths, right? So there's also lots of good research out there on using these ums and uhs to help diagnose autism and Asperger's, but I decided not to go into that because I didn't want people over-diagnosing others based on their
yeah, and that's such a sticky widget, that whole topic.
It is, and that's not the phrase.
Yeah, it is.
No, it's not.
That's
it's a sticky wicket. It's a sticky wicket.
What did I say?
Sticky widget? I can't wait to tell my friend Nigel you said that. It's a cricket thing.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, you're so funny. All right. So it's for conscientious people because they're checking in with their audience.
Got it.
You know?
Yeah, like I got it.
Right. But it is less confident because, and this is probably also why it's the conscientious people, and probably why it's younger people, and probably why females, because we tend to be lower on the totem pole in the workplace. So, for example, let's say you gave me a coffee and you said, how'd that taste? I could say, it was like a little too bitter. Or if I said, it's too bitter, that like modifies it, makes it, well, it was
less
just
pointed,
like,
it seems.
Less pointed. She was like, come on, Scooby, instead of, it also indicates, okay, so I do a new podcast called Meddling Kids. I don't think you've listened to it yet.
No,
but it's about Scooby-Doo. My husband Olaf has a complaint. He doesn't understand why my podcast about Scooby-Doo is longer than the actual episodes we're talking about.
Oh my God.
But anyway, it's funny. You don't have to like Scooby-Doo to like the podcast.
Okay.
But we review what they talk about. But if I say something like this, she was like, come on, Scooby. That means I don't remember Velma's exact words, right?
No, I disagree with you. I've heard lots of people use the word like for an exact quote.
All right, maybe. I think it indicates I don't remember the exact words, but it's like a disclaimer.
Maybe on the planet, oh yeah, sure, Julie.
Anyway, for reducing it, use all the same things we talked about before. For me, what I'm going to do in these next couple of weeks is imagine my boss and my boss's boss listening to me. Because then I think I won't use the word like as much.
That sounds terrible.
It's going to be like that commanding officer image, because I think I use it as a shortcut, right? And there are other words out there I can say. I can say, for instance, or for example, or it was similar to.
Right.
So anyway, or also you can stop caring. So if you're less conscientious, maybe you won't use those words so much.
Interesting.
What
Julie,
are you going to do?
I mean, I am just going to try to, like we've done with all the other things, try to keep track of when I do it and try to slow down my speech so I can pre-filter myself, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to try using, what do you call it, a click counter on my phone.
Oh, good idea.
Yeah, to just try to get a baseline for how often I do this. Because
that sounds good.
Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do.
Okay, well, let's
Very
do that.
excited.
It's for the next bit, y'all are going to hear some of the pleasure kills. We'll be back in a minute to tell you how it goes.
Bye, Julie.
Bye.
My name is Alex. I'm 26 and I'm a Planned Parenthood supporter and patient. I had a cyst on my ovary that was incredibly painful. Without birth control, it could return. I didn't have insurance then, so I went to Planned Parenthood. It was a lifesaver. Now that I have insurance, I'm still a proud patient. Planned Parenthood stands with me and my community.
Show your support for Planned Parenthood by scheduling your next checkup at plannedparenthood.org.
And we're back.
Hi, Julie.
Did you remember to do this?
I did remember to do it.
Good for you.
It was impossible.
What do you mean?
It is, filler words are like air. It's impossible to give it up.
I don't think that's true. If you
No,
give up
it's
air,
a
you're going to
100
die.
Yes, that is the same thing, because people will think that you are some kind of weird robot and they will hunt you down and kill you.
I told you a million times, do not exaggerate.
Good one.
Thank you. I just came up with that.
Yeah, right. That was a quote from the Young Ones.
I'm wearing a really awesome Rick from the Young Ones shirt right now.
Oh, very good. So, see, I just used another one.
Just did two of them.
Uh-huh. And so there's probably another one there.
Why is it?
It was
any
impossible.
Context? What about reducing them? What about reducing
them? I tried so hard. So my click counter in one like half a day, I got up to about 40. And that was just from people telling me that I was doing it.
Seriously?
From those conversations with my friends who knew I was trying to do this. I was in a lot of other conversations where people weren't telling me and where it was much harder for me to kind of keep track. Yeah. So that number is probably 5 or 6 times that amount in reality.
Probably.
So for me, it was impossible. The other part of it, I was joking around about being a robot, but truly it made me seem like, not that I was being thoughtful about my speech, but that my speech was robotic, or that my speech was, not conforming to like normal human norms. I don't know how to describe it.
Well, yeah, because you're thinking about it too much.
Yeah.
You're processing way too many things at the same time.
Yep. So it was just a matter of, if you can imagine, just slowing down, thinking about what I was going to say before I said it, and then trying to get it out. And then
none of that worked.
I mean, it worked, but it was super, super difficult. I wouldn't be able to maintain it.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. The product, when you did slow down and thought about what you wanted to say, the product, what you actually said, was it okay? Was it better, worse, the same?
That is such an interesting question. It was more like a more cogent sentence or thought that comes out. But I don't know if that's qualitatively better or worse. In my mind, it was worse. No, I do know. I think it was worse because it came out slower, didn't fit in with the flow of conversation.
Yes. Right.
That was a big thing. like I would be having a talk with somebody and I would have to speak very slowly, get these thoughts out. And it was very weird. Like the gears weren't aligned, you know?
Oh, for sure. I know exactly what you mean because I also spent the last weeks
Let's
working
hear
on
about
this.
it. Tell me about it.
I couldn't do it either. But here, I've narrowed my focus. I tried hard. I would just forget. I tried doing the thing I've used for some of our challenges where I would wear rings on my fingers. I normally don't wear rings, except for my wedding band. And I wore rings to remind myself, and even that didn't work. That's how I remembered some of our other things, like apologizing and stuff.
Okay.
But this one, it was so hard. So the area where I focused on it most was podcasting. For my work, I'm starting some podcasting initiatives there, and I am recording myself a lot throughout the day. I'm also was spending a lot of time during this past week, especially getting ready for a very important presentation. That was also extremely nerve-wracking. And so for all those things with the podcasting stuff, it's very measurable because I was able to listen to myself afterwards and, see the product.
Right.
I was able to reduce my likes.
Really?
So, yeah, I definitely reduced those. But the ums and uhs were nearly impossible. For, I believe I might have mentioned the Scooby-Doo podcast, The Meddling Kids, that I'm starting with Stephen Pappas.
Yes.
He's doing all our editing for that. And he said, I'm just going to leave in all the ums and uhs. I don't care. And at first I was thinking, what? Because we edit ours.
Right.
We edit a lot of ours out. And I listened to the episode, and there certainly were a lot of ums and uhs in there, but it really wasn't distracting. I mean, okay, it was about Scooby-Doo. So I don't think the listeners who are tuning in for that show in particular are really worried about us sounding academic.
Well, Julie, when you edit this podcast, this particular episode, I think you should leave them in.
Okay. What I usually do when I go through, I don't delete them all, but I did for our first couple episodes, and I believe it probably made us sound a little weirder, but what I usually do is just take out the ones that are distracting. Okay. And I think that's important because they are natural pauses, and it's okay to have pauses in there, especially when you're listening to something and you can't see our face. It's hard to understand things that you hear in audio sometimes, and I think taking out those ums and uhs, like we talked about last time, they help us gain contextual clues.
Got it.
With the likes, I did the thing where I imagined a commanding officer there raising his hand every time I said like. And because I don't use that word as much when I'm speaking to my boss. I still use it, and I did still use it. But in general, I just tried to imagine, even when talking about Scooby-Doo, that I was in a more formal environment. So anyway, cool. I don't know that I'm going to keep it up because it's, I mean, I'm doing a Scooby-Doo podcast. It's supposed to be silly. Right. And I think talking like a regular human is more important than, like you said, talking like a weirdo robot guy.
That's exactly right. So that's what I strive for. My bar is pretty low.
I think the most important lesson is practice. The really important speech I got really nervous at the beginning because I was looking at the wrong slide deck.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it was the right slide deck, but I was like, next slide. And the person next to me was like, that's not the presentation. I was just looking at my computer screen instead of the screen she had thoughtfully put up for me that showed how the presentation was advancing. And they were already on the next slide. And
that's funny. It sounds like you didn't practice the fifth canon from Cicero.
Which was?
Actio, delivery, the process of practicing how you deliver your speech using gestures, pronunciation, and tone of voice.
Excellent. Exactly. Yeah, that's right. I mean, going over those things in your head, all your talking points, is different from going over your talking points out loud, too.
Yeah, totally.
So I practiced that speech quite a bit, and it was fine. I love public speaking in general, but one of the things I really like about it is being an engaging speaker and interacting with the audience, and sometimes saying things a little extemporaneously to keep attention. If I give a very dry, flat speech, it's not going to keep attention. Right. Okay, anyway, so a little bit of ums and ahs, okay. A little bit of likes, I think it's okay. I think overall, just practicing speaking in general and getting your message down will help you in all these areas.
So it sounds like, Julie, we would not recommend this.
I would not recommend it. I would recommend finding out what your areas are that are distracting and working on those, but not thinking about it constantly, because I don't think we're supposed to. Be mindful about other things in your life. This is one of the few things that I think probably I wouldn't recommend so much. I would recommend it for public speakers and for a specific speech, but not just for regular discourse throughout the day.
Right, exactly. That's a great distinction. And, don't let anybody force you left-handed people to be right-handed either.
Oh, we have to do that for another. Can we please do that for our next episode?
No, in our next episode, Julie, we are going to be giving up sugar.
Oh.
We talked about it. We talked about it. Yeah. Oh. And in fact, I'm going to be giving up for 4 weeks. I know that.
Seriously?
I am. Yeah. I'm going to baseline my weight, and then here's the kind of sugar I'm giving up, just to be totally clear.
Okay.
I'm going to give up any kind of like dessert-oriented sugar or snack or treat-oriented sugar. I'm not going to do the thing where I try to knock carbohydrates out of my meals.
I see. Added sugars.
Processed sugars.
Processed sugars. Okay. Yeah, I think dessert-oriented sugars is a little confusing.
Everybody thinks that way. That's on the food group.
Okay, great.
Yeah. What are you going to do? Yeah.
I was going to give up being right-handed, so I don't know. I'm going to have to think about it.
What are you talking about? We went back and forth about this for a long time yesterday.
No. Oh, that was yesterday? Jesus. It's been a rough week. Fine, sugar, whatever.
Okay, good.
I have no idea.
You can't handle the giving up the sugar.
Folks, if you want to play along with us, check us out on Facebook and Twitter. We're at WagonPod, and we'll post updates there. And you can also go to wagonpod.com to hear our show notes and hear other episodes and things like that. Oh, and please go to iTunes. If you'd like to subscribe to us there, that would be awesome. You can rate us there, like how Fev Khaled 11.
Good one. That's probably right on the head there.
Yeah, Fev Khaled 11 gave us 5 stars. And here she says, historians have a branch of study called Everyday Life, where they try to dissect the quotidian subjects that make up our day-to-day existence. This show is really creative in its analysis and historical study of the average objects we encounter every day. Really cool concept. Wow, thanks, Fev Khaled 11.
That's awesome. Somebody used the word quotidian to describe our show. That is so cool. I think it means something like all the little normal things that you do, like rudimentary or tedious.
Mm-hmm. See how you had to struggle with all those synonyms?
Yeah, I did. And did you hear all of the filler words I used?
Yeah, totally. Interesting. I bet Fev Khaled 11 doesn't use filler words. He or she is like super. He or she used the word quotidian. We bow down to your superior intellect. So thanks for
Julie,
that iTunes review.
Yeah, that was awesome.
And you can email us your suggestions for giving up left and right hand dominance at wagonpodcast@gmail.com.
Julie, I will commit to you to doing that in an episode after sugar.
Okay, that sounds good. And right. I will give up sugar. I just haven't even started.
And the reason I want to do it for 4 weeks is because I want to try to make it a lifetime habit. And I know if I just do it for 2 weeks, I won't.
Wow. Okay. I need to do some serious thinking. I mean, I'm definitely in. I just need to think about it.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm in pre-contemplation stage of change. All right. Thank you to the Pleasure Kills for the use
Thanks,
of the
Pleasure
song
Kills.
Modern
You're
Problem.
awesome.
Thanks. Thanks for interrupting me, as always. Is that like your shtick, or do you just accidentally do it because you're so excited?
No, that is my shtick.
Oh, it was deliberate. Okay,
it was totally deliberate.
Thanks, listeners, for sharing our show. We really appreciate it. Oh, and thanks for our spouses and children for putting up with us.
Yay, spouses and children.
Okay, we'll be back next time to talk about how we're going to go sugar-free.
Wow, that was a great way to put that.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye, Julie.
Bye, Marky. I'll let you if it doesn't sound okay, you won't mind me letting you know, right?
I won't, and you won't mind me not listening to you.
Perfect.
Great.
I'm glad we understand where we're at.
Each other.
Okay.